The Eastern Cape town of Makanda, formerly known as Grahamstown, hosted the 10th edition of the Buco Grahamstown to Sea mountain bike race. Registration took place at the 1820 Settlers Monument overlooking the historic town. There were two distance options, a 58 kilometres straight to Port Alfred or a 73 kilometre ride to the same finish but with an additional loop past the Sibuya Game Reserve. In the morning, coffee was a reason enough to be there, wasn't it?
The reason we're here is because the beers taste better after a long ride.
Mother Nature had given the big field of riders a near perfect day to enjoy the freedom of the roads to Port Alfred as they gathered outside the Buco warehouse on the outskirts of Makanda for the start. The 73 kilometre riders were first to set off. And they did so by way of a vintage cannon ignited by some enthusiastic Settler Association members. The longer distance had most of the racers keen to test themselves against each other and on a route that was fairly forgiving. The 73 kilometres was predominantly downhill, as the numbers suggest, around 650 metres of climbing and nearly double that in descending, so it was going to be hard and fast. Probably the biggest climbing challenge of the race came inside the first 10 kilometres as they ascended Mountain Drive before heading up to the top of Woest Hill. Jason Peach, Aneli Mtlana and Sydney Stratham were up the road. Long, smooth climbs split the field up as riders fought to stay in touch with the strong climbers. Each is a former winner of the race. Mtlana and Stratham, both in the colours of Cyclopro, were setting a steady pace. Once over the top, it was brakes off and downhill at high speed. It was an exhilarating 5 kilometres, and the leading trio are not going to be separated just yet. The 58 kilometre riders rolled away from the start half an hour after the longer race. Dave McKenzie flying through the jeep track. And up ahead, Donovan O'Reilly was going flat out along the stunning Ridgeline Road. Onboard cameras illustrating just what a clear, beautiful morning it was in the Eastern Cape. While the less confident riders took a cautious approach to the descents, the experienced riders let go of those brakes. Each to his own, of course. The descending joys just kept coming. Smooth, seldom used tar and fast gravel. What a pleasure. There were a few fees to be played with a couple of decent climbs. Rutendo Cavadi and Greg Goveris among those making him look easy. Up front, O'Reilly had Peach locked onto his back wheel. The 2017 and 2019 winner then returned the favour as they sought to catch the leader, who was at that stage Sydney Stratham. Further back, riders were rolling into the Kelston Group water point at the 27 kilometre mark. There was a broad and creative range of food and drink to keep them well fueled.
I'm very happy to be here. We're almost halfway through. It's all downhill from here, and hopefully there's a beer station.
Well, I know there's a downhill, but they didn't tell us about the next uphill that's coming. And looking forward to Southwell, and not the single track. I'm having a great time. Thanks, guys.
Long sections of gravel roads were perfect for getting into a group. Jonathan Derbyshire, Kobani Kaga and Aneli Mtlana were humming along at a crackling pace. On the Southwell Road past Glenfillan Lodge, leader Stratham was making every pedal stroke count. And he had to, as Peach and O'Reilly weren't far behind him. Eddie Villa and Irene van Eerden were cruising in the 58k ride. The long-distance race had become a drag race. Stratham on his own up front, holding nothing back because he was not certain exactly what his advantage was over the Peach O'Reilly pair. And they were able at times, like the Bucco Waterpoint, to get splits which kept them highly motivated. The 21-year-old Stratham is a regular on race podiums in the Eastern Cape, while Peach and O'Reilly are very experienced racers with multiple wins and podiums over the years on both the road and mountain bike. With close on 4 minutes in hand, Stratham could afford a smile and a thumbs up. O'Reilly, meanwhile, was doing the hard work behind. But it was looking like a forlorn chase for the pair. The wind was making their task even tougher. The next group of Patlana, Kaka and Derbyshire was still intact. Youngsters Rowan Farrell and Tyrone Kleinschmidt giving their all in the shorter course race. They were in the top 5. The pace was far less intense further back in the field, of course. The Bucco Waterpoint was the last on both the races.
I'm still enjoying the race, although I'm suffering a bit. But I think I'm going to finish it within the cut-off time.
I'm enjoying it, but still 19 k's odd to go, so I'm not going to say too much more.
The Bucco G2C is an ideal event for those who are looking to start out on mountain bike races. With very little technical riding, a few testing climbs and kilometres of district and farm roads, it lacked the intimidation factor that perhaps deters some novices from entering other races of similar distances. Jason Peach was on his own in second as he entered the single-track rocky descent. Donovan Riley was just over a minute back in third. The finish was nearby as they cut through the Albany trails. Tiaan Oosthuizen was going well in the hunt for a top 10 place. And then disaster for the 23-year-old. A broken chain stopped him in his tracks.
Wanted to go granny gear. Never go granny gear because you're going to break your chain.
Lutendo Cavadi was one of the many riders who passed the stricken Oosthuizen whilst he fixed his chain. The Eastern Cape was truly showing off her stunning summer colours. The Kawi River was in sight, a sure sign that the finish was just a few k's away. But there was still a little work to do before reaching the Port Alfred Country Club grounds and the finish line. The reward was a cool descent down to the Riverview Waterfront Complex, which led them to the finish, where Sydney Stratham took the win in 2 hours and 27 minutes.
It was quite tough. As the further I got into the race, the harder it started blowing. So I train in PE and wind's always blowing, so training alone helped a lot.
Jason Peach was second, just over 5 minutes back, and Donovan O'Reilly in third. Louise Stratham took the women's race in 3 hours and 22 minutes ahead of Lizelle Truter and Audrey Sonicus.
For Makanda Residents Association, we took this on, this is our third time to do it as our main fundraiser of the year. And we are using it really just to keep our organisation going. We do oversight, we're supporting community kitchens, we are doing camera projects, so multiple issues that we're trying to deal with, and obviously an organisation like this needs funds to keep running. An event like this is so good for the community, it brings people into the town, so we've tried this year to combine it with the Oldenburgia Trails to try and sort of create a sporting festival, so not just about making money but actually about bringing economic value to the town through sport.
The shorter race went to 18-year-old Victor Olkers ahead of 15-year-old talent Alessandra Finici, and another 15-year-old Joanne van Sale was the first woman home. The Bucco G2C is run by the Makana Ratepayers Association as a fundraiser and community builder. Hope you enjoyed the program. That's all from this week's edition of Toyota Cadence.